Welcome everyone to the 6th round of the Norway Chess 2026. On your screen is the hero of this tournament, Alireza Firouzja. What a guy he has been. Immense willpower, playing with a broken leg, coming to the tournament hall in a wheelchair and yet leading the tournament at halfway mark. And that is just absolutely brilliant. And today he takes on Magnus Carlsen. He did beat Magnus in the first game of this tournament, and there you see Magnus entering in. It's a Sunday in Oslo. And Magnus makes sure always to do something for the kids. You know, that's what he's known for. And he's having a pretty dismal tournament. He's at the last position. But with the Norway chess scoring system, things can always turn around very rapidly. Magnus taking out some time to listen to something. I don't know what exactly. Is he going over his preparation? Is he actually listening to something? No clue. He comes in and he's going to do a few interviews. Let's hear him out.
No, unfortunately. But
And final question, how much fighting did you argue today from 1 to 10?
Magnus looking confident like always, gives up his phone and gets himself checked. The anti-cheating measures are always strong at these major events. A handshake there with Alireza Firouzja. And the guest of honor for today is the ECU president, Zurabazmai Parashvili, also a strong grandmaster, former 2700 player. He plays the move pawn to c4. Will this be Magnus's move today is the question. Sometimes he does not take back the move made by the guest if it is his move. But today he calmly takes it back because I believe he wants to play something else. A handshake and off we go. I'm very excited for this game. Let's go. Pawn to e4 by Magnus Carlsen presses the clock. And Alireza Firouzja, will he go for the Sicilian, a fighting game? No, he keeps it solid. e5 played. And generally knight to f3 is what we see at the top levels, and exactly what Magnus does, brings his knight out. And Firouzja goes knight to c6. Magnus, will he go for the Italian? No, he goes for the Rui Lopez, bishop to b5 played. And Firouzja pushes his pawn to a6, attacking the bishop here. And the bishop comes back to a4. We have knight to f6, attacking the pawn in the center on e4. And the main line is castles. Magnus thinks for a bit and plays knight to c3, a very interesting move. It's lesser played than castles or d3 and these lines. And Firouzja now takes his time, 7 minutes, and plays bishop to e7. Just so that you know, if take here, and if you take the pawn, then knight e4, and queen d4 nets back the piece because it's a double attack. So goes castles, b5, bishop comes back to b3. And you cannot really win this bishop for now because the pawn on e5 would be hanging. So no knight a5 is possible. Black castles here. And Magnus can play the move d3. This is in the spirit of the position. There's also a4, I believe, which is a playable move. He goes pawn to d3. And this is how kind of a beginner would play chess. You know, bring your knights on the squares, put your pawn in the center, bishop out, the other bishop comes here. But this is quite a popular way to play the position. And now a3 is a cool move, making square. You remember this pawn is now defended. So knight a5 winning this bishop was a threat. So I make a square for my bishop. Knight to a5, attacking this bishop here. And bishop a2, dropping it back, seems very logical. White's move now is pawn to b4 here, which is very typical. You play pawn to b4. And this is two approaches. Either you take on e6 and play b4, or you play b4 directly. Takes on e6. F takes e6, and now b4, pushing forward, attacking the knight. The knight has to go back to c6, and bishop d2 is what has been played before. So the main idea of this is to bring your knight from e2 to g3, but if you do it immediately, then a5 becomes a strong move for black. So you start with bishop d2, you connect your pieces. Now a5 is not possible because b5 is hanging, and so queen e8 played by Alireza here. It's a very logical move. You want to get your queen here, you want to play knight h5, knight f4. But Magnus continues with his strategy of knight e2. Two things. Knight goes to g3. The other is you want to play c3, a4, d4. And Alireza goes knight to h5. That was his plan as well. I'm enjoying how this game is building up. It's a very slow positional game. Pawn to c3. Magnus isn't really afraid of this exchange sack for now because he has things well coordinated. Queen g6. Now the threat is it's not even a sacrifice. It's a winning of a piece. So you have to play knight g3 now. He brings his knight to g3, puts pressure on the knight on h5. And knight f4 played. Bringing the knight in, keeping pressure on the g2 point. And also d3. So he plays pawn to a4. Wow. So if you take here on d3, then a b5 a b5 and queen e2. These are the subtle little moves which Magnus does so well, and b5 pawn would be hanging. It's a very good point. Now queen f7, Alireza understands that taking this pawn is off limits. And now Magnus pushes his pawn to d4 and he's already gotten an opening edge. Wow. Is there something that Magnus does where he understands chess better than the others? Because the opening looked so simple. He played it so beautifully. AB. Okay. And Alireza takes back AB. Rook takes a8. Rook takes on e8. And now take on e5 could be a way, but I think it's better to just wait with h3. But Magnus takes it. And now for Firouzja, very important to take with the knight first. Takes, and I think the position remains very, very pleasant for white, but black is completely fine. But Firouzja takes with the pawn. And this, I think, is a mistake, because what he has underestimated is this variation. Bishop takes f4, a very nice move. You must take with the pawn, otherwise it remains a weakness later. And if Magnus had to play knight e2 here, saving his knight and getting rook d8, then black was fine. But there is an intermezzo here. White to play. Very cool move which Magnus finds. Queen d7, attacking the knight. So there's no time now for the knight to move. If you go knight d8, I have already knight e5. This is crushing. So he takes on g3. Magnus takes on c6, attacking the rook and the pawn. The only logical move is g takes f2. You can see how pressure is mounting on Alireza Firouzja. And now not rook f2, because then it's check, take on f1, king f1 and g4. You win a piece. So you start with king f2. And if a move like rook a2 check, just simply drop your king back. This is weak, everything's falling. So rook f8 is an excellent move. The rook was hanging, so it goes here, threatening g4. And now Magnus calmly brings his king back. Now the engines, many of them were saying king e2 is a better move, but king g1, very simple. Magnus understands this better than the engines as well. Bishop d6, defending here, attacking this way. You could anyway not save the b5 pawn, so takes. Queen takes b5, Magnus has won a pawn. Now attacking the g5 pawn, pawn to g4, attacking the knight here. And knight d2, defends the rook and attacks the queen and rook. Ooh, bishop f4, a key error. This is not a good move. The best move was queen g7, take here, king takes, and play this position. I think white is better, but black has chances. The queen is active, the bishop is active. The engine assesses this as equal, but bishop f4, a huge mistake, because g3, and now Magnus gets what he desires. Check, king comes up to g2. There's no time to pick up the knight. The queen is hanging, king g2. And so, if you look at the position carefully here, by the way, he goes queen g7. I think queen f1 does not work because of knight f1, rook check, and just simply king h1. Give this is not hanging because the queen defends it. So queen g7, Magnus goes queen d3, attacking the bishop drops back, pawn up position. And now, just have a look at this, because Magnus is an absolute genius when it comes to converting such position. Queen takes f8. He first notices that this is a weakness, so he attacks it very calmly. Queen takes queen to e2. h5 defends it, Firouzja. And now, by the way, Magnus has 36 minutes. Today, he's back to his old self. He's playing quick. He's taking good decisions. h3 is another brilliant move, because either g4 would be weak, or if you take, then h5 would be weak. Takes on g4. And queen c3 would be met with g takes h5, so hg4. And now, your c pawn is hanging. So, a very good move is pawn to c4, threatening to trap the bishop with c5. It's a very sad position for Alireza. c6 he plays. And now this is a weakness. So queen is attacking. Knight f1. What a beautiful move. Because you want to get the knight to h2. King f8. And knight h2 attacks here. Alireza down to 1 minute 52 seconds. And queen c3. Look at the way he's playing. He knows that his position doesn't have that capability now. b4, c4. Both are under attack. And another great move. Knight takes g4. He gives up the b4 pawn. But now the queen and knight will combine to launch an attack on the king. Don't play queen f2. Queen f3 check, maybe. He goes knight e5. He defends here, attacks, and queen c5 does not work. Knight d7, you simply lose the queen. So queen d6. And Magnus goes queen to h5, defending the knight, king e7. By the way, if you give a check, it's only one check, king h3. There are no more checks. He's seen it. Queen h7, king e8. Because if king d8, there was knight f7 check, so queen g8. King e7, queen to g7, king e8, king h3. It's a nice move. And now bishop d4. He plays this, but this is a blunder, because knight takes c6 is a very nice trick that comes in, because you can start with a check here, force him to come to e7 and knight c6 check. Magnus, so good, so good. Check, forced to come up and take on c6 with a check. You can see that Magnus Carlsen has come down to 6 minutes. You remember he had 36 minutes, which shows that he took his time in this endgame. He just basically now is 2 pawns up. There's nothing much left to be played here. Alireza still just playing out of inertia. You know, maybe there could be some chances. Pawn to c5. Magnus down to 5 minutes on the clock, so now he no longer needs to write moves. King comes up to h4. You know, Magnus has converted many equal queen endgames, so this is like bread and butter for him. Queen e5, queen c4. And now a check. King goes to f7. He plays king h5. Nice move, because if queen takes e4, there is queen f4 check trading queens. So queen c3. And now e5 comes in as well, where you have your pieces. He goes queen c2 with just 1 second on the clock and check, and loses the pawn. Magnus scores a very, very nice win. A clinical win. Right from the opening till the end game, he played like a maestro, like the GOAT whom we've known for so many years. And, you know, Magnus playing poor chess in some of the games, but showing his old self back again. I don't know what's going to come in the next round. This is the interesting part. Will this Magnus come to the board or the other one? And if this Magnus comes to the board, he can still win the tournament. Quite possible. But if the other one comes, then maybe it's not so easy. Let's follow Magnus out of the playing hall, where he did his interviews and met with the fans. I hope you enjoyed the game.
Changed in the game.
No, I mean, he kind of surprised me a little bit in the opening, and I thought, you know, I'll just play something. And I think the plan he went for was not very good. And I thought I got a fairly pleasant position. So, and most of all, it was relatively easy to play. So I didn't have any reason to hemorrhage time on the clock as I have in other games. Then yeah, we went for this long forced sequence, which I thought was really good for me. And then I realized like he might have some chances there, but it wasn't easy. And the way he played kind of left him with very, very few chances.
You dominated on position as well as on the clock, like not in comparison to the other games. What changed?
No, I mean, I did spend a lot of time towards the end. I just like wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. But it was more about it was a fairly simple position to play and was pleasant. So you don't always get these positions, and when I do, I can play fairly fast for sure.
And final question: now you're 2.5 points behind Firouzja. What is your motivation right now?
I don't know. I think the way the tournament has gone, there's no reason for me to be too ambitious. But yeah, it's less bad than yesterday, and it's nice to get a win.
It's still great to see striking back, and best of luck for the next game.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Magnus Carlsen, can I have a photo with you?
Yeah.
Can I have a photo with you?
Yeah, sure.
Tack Magnus.
Thank you.
Dronning det skriver veldig bra.
Jo, takk. I'll just...
Time.